Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're a special guest, Michael Forrest, on today. We're going to be going into alien artifacts and the new discoveries that are coming out in Mexico, where I'm also at, and we're leading the edge. So there's going to be some big changes in the Earth, whether they like it or not. Big waves are coming forth, and it's fluctuating. And as people take their power back into the personal museums of brave individuals that are willing to bring this out, despite the mainstream dinosaur history trying to hold the narrative together, despite its cracks and its continued just inability to prove itself. Anyway, so Michael Forrest, please tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got into this, and we'll go in deep dive into this very activating show. So spread this around if you can in the audience, because you're going to be seeing some goodies, some history-changing things out there.
Yeah, I kind of a history nut since I was a kid, but just kind of stumbled across some of these carvings. I collected carvings, modern ones, from different areas, precious stones, and all of a sudden my buddy went to the gem show and came back with these pieces, and I mean, I'd never seen anything like it, and I'd collected for a while. My wife polishes opals, so we're fully, aware of what it takes to get stones into the shapes and the sizes and everything that they are. And so some of these struck me as really cool. I thought someone would really figured it out with the laser machine or something that was just and unlike anything I'd seen yet, And you see these TikTok videos with these lasers nowadays, and you got to wonder, right? So we started seeing these things, and he told me they were 10,000 years old and that they were on TV, and the archaeologists had carbon dating. And I laughed, I really didn't think that was even possible. I figured that would be all over the Channel 4 or Channel 6 news if that was the case. And so I started kind of pressing him for more information. Who's doing this? Can you get me your contact? I'm interested in buying some. Like, you know, either way, I just want to research it. Ended up betting him money that I could prove within a reasonable doubt science that these were modernly made. And what they depicted with aliens and angels and things out of mythology that we have been trained and enforced upon that this is fiction, and it's absolutely stuff like ET, for instance, or any of these movies that have been made, aliens, predators, all this type of stuff. And what's crazy is the look of some of these beings absolutely was just like it was made from the movies, and that was the big part in me that was like, I can't get on board with that. That was made, I think Aleister Crowley was the first one that drew one of those guys, I mean, this was in the 30s or the 20s, or not any time ancient. And we haven't seen anything like that on the walls. And then I started doing a little more research and seeing that there was some weird things down in the Utah and Arizona deserts and places like that. So, here we are, fast forward 5 years. I've now wrote five book, or excuse me, I've written six books actually, and gone hard deep into this. I spent a lot of money and a lot of time trying to disprove it initially from a skeptic's point of view, and I couldn't do it. I've still yet to see any evidence that says this stuff is modern, and I've thrown so much evidence at the wall. I mean, our social medias have been on fire lately because some of the things they're finding is just so, I mean, unlike anything I've ever seen. Some people are like, man, it's like a set of a movie. And I said, please show me a movie that looks like that, because there's just the details and the little things are in a dynamic proportion. And that's kind of what's inspired my research and got me here.
Thank you for doing it. I can't wait to get your book when I come down. Man, that thing is like a yellow phone book of all these alien species that are anchored and grounded in reality of what people seen. So, I collect a lot of alien species book, but I'm always, some of the things I get energetic readings on because I'm a Psionics user.
Oh, yeah.
And teach telepathy, and some of it I don't get any hits. I don't get any like they when I pick up on an actual ET with like images and stuff, which I've seen, they emit a bunch of rare energy. So
Mhm.
some of them are some of the things people channeled, but these artifacts, they just brim with energy. So it's just lovely how this is gonna come out, and we're gonna have all this finally collaborated public ET species books coming out more and more. And then we have, humanity has this big key to all these species and why they came here, as well as Earth. And that I found as I've interviewing these species, why they came here. A lot of them are their planet has been destroyed or is like weirdly missing. And it lowers their fertility ability, so they end up having to revert to cloning or something. And so they're coming here because Earth has a key to reverse engineer fertility grounds with a place of power. So and humans have the key to also doing that if it's not already existing here as a super hybrid. So there's some crazy stuff that we can do in commerce, and I've also been practicing with the contact protocols, getting some good results. Getting a lot of ETs contacting me in dreams is beautiful. So love to get into it in like some of the things you've been working on currently, new discoveries, things that you're willing to share. And then we can get into like some species and things that you got around the room. I got some artifacts. Love your expertise on, and I'd love to see some of your and our audience. My God, they're in for a treat.
Yeah, no, some of the most crazy specimens have been coming out. I mean, mineral specimens and obviously carving styles and things. You saw this probably on the news the other day. This Buga sphere that they found down in Colombia. It's interesting. In my book that I published, it actually documents. We have over here. I'll show them here in a few minutes. Multiple spheres that have been found in Abuelo Stilisco that look very similar to these. Some of them open up. They open in half, and there's little astronauts inside, and so it definitely seems like a vehicle. The footage that was released this morning on this shows this thing flying through the air and dipping down, and clearer footage than I've ever seen of one of these things, except on Skinwalker Ranch, which, you were talking about exotic energy, and I just kind of wanted to backpedal that. I think that ranch is a really, even though I'm not a super thumbs up with the show because it takes so long, it's an Oak Island experience, but nonetheless, the ranch itself had billions of dollars invested by our governments and our taxpaying dollars to investigate this before they ever made a show about it. And multiple people have report before and after during the filming of the show of getting really sick, and they bring tri-field meters and different meters out and show that there's gamma rays and high radioactivity and different EMF. And that show actually inspired me to get one of those. And these pieces have a very odd signature as well, that produces not just radio, but also electromagnetic frequencies at spiking and varying levels piece by piece. And what was really crazy with that is after finding all this out and researching this and experiencing some of these weird feelings from these pieces when we would get them, the big one for me is that excuse me, that they what was I saying here? Sorry. Oh, the energy wise, yeah, they have this energy that they've detected on these pieces, and in Egypt as well. And I was watching a documentary, is what I was going to say, and the documentary showed that people actually had to seek medical attention while handling stuff at the museum in these Egyptian pieces. And this isn't just like once or twice. This has been something consistent where some of the artifacts from Egypt they don't even bring out. And I think that's really a key thing to study that maybe isn't being studied at all, hardly. I mean, I'd never heard of this other than just a couple, after saw this documentary, I went and I did find other reportings of it, but nothing that was scientific, like, yeah, we did this study, this, nothing like that.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a cover up going on this, but yeah, I'm glad it's breaking through. And actually, we're finding layer upon layer of level activations we can do to these artifacts that we're finding. And the more we do, the more conscious they get, the more they like ping us, like get our attention, telepathic messages, and like affect our dreams, and or like awakening them, getting them wholeness. And they're even messing with electrical stuff and like making lights flash and the Wi-Fi making
See that?
everything freeze, and then like, okay, who's doing that? And as soon as we were like, oh, it's the ET artifact, oh, it starts up again, and then started doing. Um, that as they're activating, they're helping with what you're bringing out with the artifacts. That big video that went viral. If you want to share your screen on that one, you can talk about it. And
Yeah.
then the Buga sphere, which I've seen in multiple of those type of sphere drone type ET craft of some type, and they seem to have like an intelligence about them, at least a signal going back that like has an intelligence, and
Yeah.
it th- there's like reactions with it because I found the if you contact the sphere, it will talk to you. There's like some type of collective to it. And I also got my own sphere, and I'm sure you got some, and you were saying about the metallics little spheres, and I saw those when you posted them. They're beautiful, and isn't that go in the face of like archaeology and like metallurgy too?
Well, in the small ones, I don't know. The timing on it was pinnacle. It came out literally. I had the video the same day that Boogosphere came out, which was kind of a weird thing. I had ordered them, and I didn't really pay a lot of attention to the Boogosphere the first time I saw it. It took actually seeing some of the science that made me. But I did buy those spheres to research them immediately, and so far they're mostly iron. They're magnetic.
Mm,
I'm not getting any real readings off them. They weren't found at the 16-foot level or anything like that. They were found at Tula Chico, and they were found in about 8 inches of dirt underground. So, did someone plant them there or drop them there at some point? I don't know. Are they a exotic fuel inside still that need to be X-rayed? It's possible, and that's where we're at with them. We just don't know. They don't seem to be exhibiting the characteristics of the Boogosphere in any way, which I guess is the important thing to make note of right now is that that thing is gaining weight. It is absolutely bizarre when you x-ray it. There's
yeah,
a lot going on inside of there, including fiber optics running from all these little holes, and they're already starting to see possibility with AI of how this thing flies and possibly the technology just by taking pictures and uploading the scientific analysis. So I think it's going to be really exciting and definitely require some research. My business partner is actually down there right now. Well, he's actually on a plane coming to see you down in Mexico, and he's going to meet with Jaime Mawson, and he's going to get to hold the Boogosphere. He's going to the sites in Tula. He's going to take a bunch of video and document this. Um, right now because I guess the hotness around the Boogosphere is a lot. They're trying to find it, and it's held in private hands and it's in private labs, so it's kind of an interesting
they're
thing to
trying
see
to
on
buy it.
Fox News and Apple News.
Yeah, people are trying to buy it. Like if water's poured on it, like steam comes off it. It's apparently like super cold to the touch.
Yeah.
Bit of a buzz, and yeah, as we talk about it, as we're bringing it out, it's probably aware of us. There's some weird AI thing, intelligence.
Are you familiar with
Yeah, I think we'll see
CE5
more
and
of it.
the stuff that Dr. Greer does?
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Well,
yeah, yeah. Like the contact protocol. Yeah, I do that. Yeah, exactly.
I have a good friend who went through an experience with him, and then later was contacted by a being, and his story is wild. It's something else. But I think, like you said, that they're there and can be reached if you put it out there. And that's kind of what that CE5 is. And there's so many people that have had experiences that it's kind of hard to argue. You look at Chris Bledsoe too. I mean, this guy can call him in at the drop of a hat. I mean, he does watch parties with hundreds of people, and all of a sudden there's orbs flying around. It's hard to argue that, especially when you're seeing stuff like this. And what's bizarre is with this Boogosphere specifically is you have people like Giorgio Tsoukalos coming out publicly stating that it's a hoax, that there's no way it's real within 100% fact, but now it's on Fox News and Apple saying it's stumping scientists and stuff. So it's very interesting to
He's
feel
gonna
this
be
pushback.
dragged, kicking and screaming.
This
Just
is the ancient
disappointing.
aliens captain. Like he should be so excited about this and at least trying to prove it one way or another. So the fact that someone like that isn't gives me a different opinion on I guess disclosure of what it actually consists of.
Right? That is so controlled and slowed. And he's probably got a lot of handlers like around and talking shit and like making like showing a lot of fake stuff and then like getting him down about it because like barely even had enough time to go there, interact with it. So there's no way like he has any expert opinion on it whatsoever. So here's one of the spheres that I got. It looks pretty much like a stone that mimics the structure of Jupiter, and it's got
it does.
so many ET. It's got an eye on it. Let me see if I can see if I can put my screen up a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah. So it's got an eye. It's got this ET with the long skull holding a sphere itself. Oh my god!
Yep. Right. That's something that really needs to be taken note of as well. The spheres. You see, this is from Awelos, a whole different culture, different everything. But what's up here? Didn't mean to flip you off, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, spheres everywhere in the environment around these beings, and that is consistent across hundreds of these artifacts from Tula and Awelos both. It's important to think about, considering we're seeing these things flying around. And that show again, I'm going to bring it up. The Skinwalker, they documented one of these things flying through the air, and they got quite the rendering of it.
Nice.
This one here is there's a hole somewhere here. I'm trying to find it. This is like a window, and then on the back side here, there's a hole. Let's see if I can get a better shot here. There we go. But it goes in there, and if you put a light behind it, it's not going to show it because I've got too much light in here now. But you can literally looks like the thing is lit up.
Yeah, this one glows too when when enough UV light. So, the thing with this one, I read it's keeping a lot of things secret until it's like greater activated, but it accumulates a fuck ton of energy. And then emits it like at a large pace in different forms. There's like planets, Saturn, winged, long skull, like right there. Oh my god, it's hard. Yeah, eyes, scarab, UFOs, all kinds of things.
Yeah, is that held by something, or was it just a loose sphere that was found? Okay.
No,
yeah, usually there's like a podium for them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Feel free to take me around your beautiful museum, and we can. You still have your phone?
I killed it because it was causing an echo, but I'm going to switch it here, and
okay, yeah, we can.
Should be all right.
Okay, I'll put you on full screen, so I'll be quiet while I'm doing that.
Oh yeah, it doesn't look too bad. All right, I'm on the new iPad, so I wasn't sure. Oops, try to keep it steady. This Akhenaten here is a canoptic jar that goes with this set here. This is one of the most wild things I have, I think. It's absolutely disgusting and beautiful at the same time. You open it up, and I mean, it literally putrefies your room. I think they were used at one point. And
like body parts and stuff, like the.
Yep. Yeah, we actually have organic material in one of them that is going to show promising signs of getting things like that. Skull right there is a large rock that's hollowed out. And,
I got some skulls to show you. I know you got a bunch of crystal skulls.
What's interesting is that is just bizarre to hollow out a rock like that for a whistle, and the type of material that these whistles are. You can see here. These almost look like two separate stones that were put together to make this thing. And oops, sorry. Not used to this camera on the backside. But nonetheless, that type of material could be like a form of alchemy. We see a lot of these type of symbols and a lot of depictions that could fall into that category within these pieces, as well as the beings, the pyramids emitting energy. That's another thing over here as well. I can show you, the depictions on this box here. Oops. It'll focus. There we go. You can see there's a guy there standing over the top of an obelisk, beam of energy coming out of the obelisk, and then beam of energy coming out of the three pyramids that are in an alignment very similar to that in Giza. So, could they have been utilized for alchemy at some point? Is that where magic went? Or is that why we don't have as much power as they did in terms of magic and alchemy?
I believe you're correct with that. I've
Some of
read like
these,
some of the pyramids, like the step pyramids. They're like drawn in things for advanced alchemy to advance amount of gold being like summoned out of higher dimensions.
interesting.
Like that
Yeah,
Stargate.
yeah, yeah. Just the stone that's in that thing alone is just, it's really something else. And you see this spot right here on it that's kind of exposed.
Yeah.
We've documented about 25 portals, and all of the stones seem like they have an area like that on them. And I mean, it's almost as if it was utilized at some point, maybe. I'm gonna try to get a better shot of it here. There we go. But it's interesting the fact that it's so
You got a
consistent in all
telescope
these.
there in the
Yep,
back? Yeah.
yep. And the lens on this thing is, oops, you can see that line going through it. It's a concave piece of fluorite, but the that line going across, if you look up something called the Nerubi lens, it was found in Saudi Arabia, and it's estimated to be like 4 or 5 thousand years old. And believe it or not, it has that same look and inclusion to it. And it was known as the first magnification device that we have, or the first dated one that's known about. So it's interesting to see that here as well. Uh,
Yeah, nice
th-
skull
th-
collection.
this one here on the green one is jade, and it's hollowed out also. It's
Ooh,
still
beautiful.
18,000 grams of jade, completely carved and tattooed, which jade is not an easy stone to get a hold of in that size, and let alone the balls that it would take to not only carve that thing with an alien on top of it like that, but then to go through and tattoo carvings on every inch of it is just, I mean, you're really asking for it, you know?
Hmm. Has any of the skulls talked to you yet? We've had a bunch of conversations come up.
You know, I've never had, I mean, a full-on communication. I definitely get vibes from them though, and I collect them obviously pretty heavily. Oops, let me get a better shot here.
Do you get like a feeling where you get blown, like somebody blew air into your ear, or like a like a big wave of wind just blasting you in the head, or
Oops, sorry guys.
like,
No, I've never had that. But my hair will raise on end. I'll get like goosebump type feels sometimes. Handling crystals in general, though, that's part of the reason I collected rocks and minerals my whole life is I felt connected to them. You know, this is a Ouija board here
damn.
that was found, and this thing glows like a candle in the wind. I mean, it is just bright. We got weird
You got
hammers that look
Thor's
like
hammer
stuff out of
there.
mythology. Yeah. You know, some of this stuff, it's just you can't make it up. I mean, how crazy it is to be like these fiction movies. But again, it's the proof is in the pudding. I'm going to flip the camera back around so I can play this whistle for you guys because this is pretty cool. Sorry for this light. Let me go like this. There we go. Oh, it's kind of heavy. This is a like a starship here, and this comes off of here. You can see the guy. He's got like a control deck, full set of controls. Pretty interesting. Um, but it's not just a starship; it's a whistle.
Maybe it summons the.
Oh, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it or not because my headphones have such crazy noise canceling
Yeah,
on
we're
them.
not hearing it. Maybe if
Yeah, I apologize. Actually,
you think
I'm
it'll
gonna.
summon the ship if you play it the right way.
Here we go. It'll do it this way. I just took them out for a second. Yeah, I'm not the best stone whistle
That's
player.
a
It's
that's a
but
pretty good
still, I mean, the tone that you get out of these things are just
yeah, Mexican
crazy. You
vibe
know? Yeah,
too.
for sure. Yeah.
Nice. Wow. Yeah, it looks like a starship. So like Fuck. It's like the manas could summon or
Big
something.
time. Yeah, you see a lot of that type of depictions, different types of crafts, and like you've got weird things that sit on top of like these spheres again. Like this is like a huge black sphere that sits on top of these four guys holding it up. Another big sphere here. And this one is really interesting. It's got literally I'm gonna take it out of there and show it here because I don't get it out enough. This is really a
Sure.
cool one.
Love to see it.
It almost has like what looks to be like the Genesis story on it. It's one of
Oh,
the few
really?
ones that literally has a vat of DNA.
Oh, yeah, yeah. A lot of these alien artifacts seem to go into a. There seems to be multiple Genesis stories of, or at least them adding their genetics to us, or creating an offshoot of a hybrid of human,
And
and
it's
then it
got the
going
pharaoh here
into.
holding it up.
Yeah, the Anubis and the Thoth-like beings. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got all these holes on it, which I need to actually count these round. They're all over. And on that Buga there's 32. It could be planets also, because this one here has the line going through it, which is interesting. So they could depict the solar system. I don't know. It's
Yeah, a
pretty
lot of them
wild.
seem to activate DNA and at least have a anchor to the. We get a lot of the planets and Saturn kind of thing and symbols on ours, and they
Mhm.
seem to link to one of the colonies that the species depicted have, and that you can link to it. So it's like some type of holographic stone computer in each one of these things that you can use to contact the beings in some way.
Interesting. I believe that.
Um, Whew. Yeah, again, feeling the energy already with it. Yeah, have you? Because I've seen some. What kind of species have you came across in some of them? Because we got these as an example with the crystal skull ones,
Mhm.
or the long skull.
Yep.
Uh,
Lots of different elongated skulls like that. There's probably, I bet you, 40 to 50 different shaped skulls, including Paracas and the ones that we've actually found, physical skulls. But as far as the stone and the physical together, I'd say 40 different elongated Homo sapien type skulls. And then there's obviously here, I have a great example. I mean, we see these mermaid looking beings quite a bit. We see these squid face type beings, which there's actually a god of the darkness in, I think it's an Aztec god. I'm going to butcher the name if I even attempt it, but it's he's got this square looking mouth, and it has all these weird things hanging down. And if you look at these squid face beings and this guy, there absolutely could be a resemblance there for sure. This is another one here that, when I saw this, it just made me like, that's out of Aliens. It's even
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
you brought up the topic. I found a few of the artifacts that look like aliens, so I wanted to talk about that with you. Yeah, I'm glad you found some.
I called BS so hard seeing that the first time. There's just no way. But again,
Yeah, I
knowing what I
know.
know now, if this entire disclosure and a psyop, and they're trying to make us think that these beings are from outer space. Well, then let's create Alf. Let's create ET. Let's make ET look like the Nazca mummies. Let's make it with three fingers. That way, when they find the real ones, we can just be like, no, that was invented in the 30s, and you're full of BS. That's a fake. That's a fake. Exactly what they're doing with this stuff now, um, and it's happened on multiple accords, which is concerning, considering we're seeing this on pieces that are absolute in terms of
Can
their
you put that
findings.
up real
Like,
quick again?
yeah,
Here,
yeah.
I'll put you on full screen for people.
And this is all gold. The eyes and the pine cone have a different carat value. They're not pure gold. You know, if you buy gold leafing today, it's 24 karat because that's how they measure it, because gold is so expensive. So to just use non-purified gold to do something like this of an art
Can you
project is
zoom in on the alien?
kind of unheard of. Yeah, I wanted to show this star map looking thing too. It's you know, a lot of
Zoom in
interesting
on the alien on the
symbology.
back.
These
Back.
green pieces, and there's a spiral on the bottom too,
Oh, that's
which I think is, oops, pretty key. And this is a part of a greater piece, and it's like a five-piece stack over here that has a pine cone and crazy, crazy things inside of it. Here, I'll grab the pine cone in this piece here.
yeah. We found that we have the one of the alien babies. Ooh, yeah, that's cool.
This piece here has a lot of extreme. You look at it with a loop and the way it's carved, it feels really, really old. Could just be the type of stone it is too, but it definitely has that vibe to it. And this is
Nice.
one of the other pieces of the stack here. Make sure I don't drop. Got to be so careful with these things, man. It's a whole nother level of walking through a ceramic store, I'll tell you. Really interesting symbology here, though, around the eye, and this is
Right.
where the egg goes into.
Yeah, I've found with our baby alien that it's like a gestation of a divine being from the parts of multiple gods. So, like that egg type thing might be another gestating anchor to a spirit of like what could essentially become a god.
Yeah,
And when I say
I can see
gods, I
that.
mean lower G gods that like are
Yeah,
authority of some type of
archons and
ability
titans and
and yeah,
yeah, yeah. I think that's the big one. You know, they call them demigods for a reason, likely because they are creations of the demiurge, which is the god of possibly the Old Testament and some of these major religions now. People say that, oh, it's satanic or whatever. I don't know any of that to be sure at all, but I do know that there is some history here regarding the Gnostic beliefs and what they believed a demiurge was and what happened with the Cathar people for nine papal terms, nine popes it went through, that everybody gave the green light that these people had to go. And they believed in Enochian beliefs. And the one key thing was is that they believed two gods in the Old Testament, one that was good and one that was evil. And I think we see a lot of plausibilities. And so there's this document that they found. It's called the Cremona document. It's a Templar document, and it was sold to the Vatican. Well, the guy who sold it, he took pictures of the document and they got it translated. And the translations off this thing come up and talk about Yahweh being a dual gendered Godhead. And when you think about a dual gendered Godhead and what exactly that means, you know, So it's something that they were hiding from the church. This comes out of the Book of Wars, and it talks about Anu, the Most High from the Anunnaki. It mentions them by name, and this is a biblical book that they were keeping over the Catholic Church and hid to essentially, use as leverage to continue doing what they were doing because they butted heads at some point. That's why the Templars were tortured and Baphomet came out. Baphomet means wisdom, and which is a similar thing to the Sophia that the Gnostics believed in. And the Sophia was the mother, and she essentially was one of the initial divine 30 thoughts from the creator. So like the creator had 30 thoughts of pure thought form, those emanated out and then created new thoughts, and
yeah.
those thoughts created new thoughts. And so her thoughts, she created the demiurge, but she was not happy with it. She didn't create it with her partner. Every partner, you're supposed to make a partnership to create something, and she didn't. And that's why our universe was created possibly by this demiurge, and everything here is physically out of balance. Like if you think about all of pretty much everything here, there's a significance to try to make it balanced on each side. But even though 2 + 2 = 4, it might have been 2.3 and 2.78 or whatever, and then now it's different, right? But if we're just using the twos, it's just 2 + 2 = 4, right? And that's kind of how our math system we're finding these pieces in the pyramids are built at like these high-end math systems. Like the Sumerians used a 20 base math system, and we use a 10 base, and so their precision when they were measuring things and doing things was far more accurate than us. And I think that's something that, we only use 10% of our brain. Like you were saying, there's people that have these psionic powers and have these abilities. Well, what if you were trying to shield people from the light and you were trying to block their abilities? But some things are going to get through, and so some people have certain things, I believe, that are activated, and that's coming from possibly things that aren't getting blocked out. A lot of remote viewers have viewed this lately about this demiurge and this guise, or this threshold of the material world. And the material world is like a machine that's holding our souls here, right? And so it's interesting to see that logic play out with these pieces, because we see that they're transmitting souls out of their mouths oftentimes, and they're out there doing this type of rituals and occult type things that we hear about, or that has been persecuted. And that goes back to the
See if I can
Gnostics
get
and
you in. Wait. You froze out for like 5 seconds.
oh,
Okay, we're back. Go ahead.
cool.
I can hear you.
But yeah, just
Internet's
to
back up.
loop around. Yeah, that's that glitching and lights flickering you were talking about. Yeah.
Right.
No, but I think that again, it goes to the cancel culture. I guess there's a long drawn out point to make, but the cancel culture here, the things that have been persecuted and pushed away, seem to be popping back up in familiar places, but yet not places that we would expect them. And that's, the biggest takeaway here is keeping an open mind, because I didn't believe in any of this stuff when I started this. And so even talking about psionics and activations and all of this is completely out of my comfort zone in reality. But I literally learned that this is something that you have to keep an open mind of. And um, what I know today is this versus what I'll know tomorrow, right? So
Mm.
just got to keep learning.
Yeah, exactly. It's openly skeptical and then bring this in. Yeah, I agree. A lot of the Gnostic stuff coming back. Uh, like confirmation of what you've seen, because I like to like read into things myself and then see if
Hmm.
things confirm. I found that the consciousness of Earth is like one of the peak remaining beings that is good at divinity, and prime creator of the galaxy that most people, when they pray to, that's like God, is like the best at like its connection to, it's like the center of the trunk that connects fractally all the way up, in goodness and all and love. And then of course, like with what I've read, when I go through the Bible and I read into, okay, who uh, channeled to that being, that,
Hmm.
or could telepathic contact that being, and like that's claiming to be God. And there's like definitely more than just one God that's anchored into them. I would confirm prime creator of the galaxy. It took a big wound, especially at the fall of Atlantis and a few other points in period, like when Draco invaded Lyra.
Hmm.
Big ass wounds to it. It like fell on a grenade for people. And then its parts got stolen, and by a antiverse version of the prime creator of the galaxy, which antiverse acts like a lymphatic system for a universe. Every universe is usually born in threes, where it's like a neutral, a dark that like if invaders come in, they go there first, and then a higher light one that's like for the VIP club of the management and the creators of it. And then they usually come in systems like that. But
That's the Trinity. Right?
yeah,
That's Orion's belt. I mean, yeah.
sure. And then yeah, and then there's a Enlil, Anu, Amun, like Amen. Yeah. And then there's probably a few other pretenders that are other things like Baal and stuff.
Are they pretenders or are they in different times? So let's say this: if we're in a cycle of reincarnation and we were created in the image of them or it, depending on the story, then we would contain some of these powers. We're at 10% power. Our brain, we know scientifically, is not optimal. So right there is a good hint. But in reality, you know what? the, these uh these different beings, like if you were a god and you could reincarnate at will, like Thoth, it talks about how he would switch bodies, right? It talks
Mm.
about this, that he would store bodies and go from one to another and to the underworld and back and so on and so forth. Then Isis and Sophia and Ninhursag and Inanna and Ishtar, these female reproductive goddesses all could be the whore of Babylon. She could have been reincarnated numerous times in numerous different forms to facilitate the reproductive need of that time. And that's why we see Isis holding alien babies here in Mexico, but we also see Isis holding this. And then we see the Mary holding, and so there's this commonality between these avatars, and you see it with Zeus and Enlil, or you see it with these stories. But if you look at their stories, they're not the same. So connecting them is what I call dogma. That is, oh, I'm trying to make this god that god. No, there was thousands of gods, and some of them were the same energy or the same soul under
Yeah.
different names. Like it
Mm.
says in the Bible, God has many names. Well, that's what he's talking about. Like it,
Agreed.
Veracocha, Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkan, like they're not the same stories. You go to these cultures, they are indicatively different. However, the beings and what they taught and how they acted are so similar that it's like a chip off the old block, literally.
Right.
So that's what I'm coming to that understanding of. And these orbs, it talks about these orbs in the Pistis Sophia, even. It says that when Jesus died, he went down and took the fallen's power by 1/3. And that was because of the deceit of the light, or going against the light. And so he said for a time their orbs would look to the left, and for a time their orbs would look to the right. And
Mm.
that's interesting, a 1/3 power. So it talks about him taking and hiding the Sophia away. I believe she was that Trinity power, the 1/3 that was utilized, or the whore of Babylon, to go out there and create all these crazy chimeras and griffins and hybrid beings that we're seeing here in Mexico, of all these different reptilian humanoids and you know all of this. It all makes sense when you go back to that story.
That's a good point. Like two things I had. You all amazing stuff you bring up. With the um, female progenitor concept, I've tuned into this concept with there's these super hybrid, like it's like a succubi, but like if it was in a physical body, as opposed to the ones that people talk about that are in spirit form, that are like, if you've seen them, it's kind of depicted as like Angelina Jolie in that movie Beowulf, that has the ability to procreate and create from multiple genetics. That's
Mhm.
introduced to her. Something else, she's able to produce like a golem, a dragon, like all this kind of thing. So there's these super powered birther lineages that are like that. And then with the multiple gods, I agree with you. When I read into gods, a lot of them act like interesting, where you can't really hone in on one particular spirit. It's like a whole galaxy in a body. And
Mhm.
some of the lineages they pass down, like Greek will have like this collective consciousness of the seven main spirits it holds form for, like hired spirit of, you're good at third eye, you're good at creation, you're good at
Mhm.
manifestation.
The
Like they
chakras.
form a team. Yeah, exactly. And they
Yep.
form a team. And then, like, same thing with the Hindu gods, where Vishnu has like multiple, like thousands of avatars, and
Yep.
Krishna and all these other beings, and then some will have human incarnations. So I'm seeing it like branch off, and then the being, it's the deities themselves have more than one spirit in them, and so they also, as they grow and evolve, they can naturally split more of themselves and make multiple incarnations at once. And some of those deities are incarnating as humans and
Yes. And
doing.
that's where the Baal the cult of Baal and the Baal worship, and I believe where Adolf Hitler with the Aryan race and these type of ideas have been stemmed from, is that there probably is some truth to these original experiments, and it could be, we have a lot of it. I saw one the other day on TikTok, and I'm not going to quote this as me thinking this, but I'm just going to say it as an example. But it said, that the Asian people were the reptilians, and the whites were created by Enki or the Anunnaki, and the others were created by Enlil. Black was created by Enlil or something of this nature, and they were posed against each other because they were creations of these gods, that these gods like to watch their creations go to town. Like we would play in a video game or something, chess. And so I think that's an interesting concept to look at. I don't necessarily agree with it fully, but I do know there's a stigma inside of our brains that is there that we have to train ourselves to overcome from the get-go. And maybe that's just genetic inheritance, or maybe that's genetic inheritance,
Yeah, with the Asian races, I've heard some of them hail from besides like a lot of the humanoids on this planet are we're not like the first humanoid body. I'm reading that like a lot of come from like higher human, ancient angelics,
Yep.
these Lyran races and mammalian offshoots, and some older than this universe. And then
Right.
with
Right.
the Asian one, there's also the shining or golden ones, and then there's like dragon offshoots, which I don't. I think Draco are kind of a wannabe dragon. They're more connected to the Naga lineage, which connects to a founder lineage of serpentine races, which goes back. And then
Tiamat. They were the
dragon,
uprising of
yeah,
Tiamat, probably. Yeah.
and then the dragons is its own founder, and then they have light, dark, and neutral. They have wars. They have this whole thing, and like we have artifacts that depict really well drawn out dragons that are like well beyond what you'd find on like some of the pyramids with Quetzalcoatl, and which has its own species. He has a sister. He has.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
found one of the portals to his a realm that has more than one of his species. It's really cool. So there's this. There's tons to explore
So
in this
the
place.
The Ishtar gates are really fascinating one too, because Marduk and Tiamat are both depicted as dragons on that gate. Is that just a coincidence that there's dragons all over the world though, and that there's gods all over the world like that? That to me are the two biggest takeaways, that this has to be at least open-minded, because that is not a coincidence that just happens, in my opinion. Like that doesn't just formulate all these stories out of our minds because we were bored. Like, you know. They're deep stories, and it's also interesting because these gods you'd mentioned earlier, they kind of have this funniness about them when you research them, and that made me think. I was like, they really do, but they're also manifesting themselves in the material world. And if this material world is there to trap souls, it would make sense why people like Jesus had to overcome certain things in the Bible, and why these gods have fights and feelings and mistakes, and because they are also part of the material world. They're not invincible to the balance of math, right? I mean, this is math hardwired into this universe. So if you make an appearance here, then you better be ready to play.
Yeah, and like think these artifacts have like since they seem to have the agenda to uplifting our species and bringing us to a type 5 civilization, like these crystal skulls, when I interviewed them, what they want, UFOs and crazy shit on them. But
Mhm.
it's, and I ask why it seems selfless. And they're like, well, you have our genetics in you, and you're a big cure to us, and solves a bunch of our problems of our fertility and our
Wisdom.
worlds, and they want to make home here. There's also an ascension thing where, I'm not like agreeing with everyone's definition of ascension, but growth in general to higher levels. And
Yes. The real evolution.
yeah, it's like where this planet is high geared for high evolution, and our species of some of the top evolver species put into the body, as well as many other things, over 10,000 races in our genetics. But it's like they put it in and they wait. It's like waiting for something to cook. And once we have this big explosion. I mean, over time, there's still evolution, just like that's very fast, but and they're affected by that, and but they're waiting for serious events that will happen. They're trying to push towards that. That they will get a big ass boost themselves, as it appears. Um,
Got to raise the vibration, right? I
yeah,
think that's kind of they are the vibration here. You know, if they are the light and the dark, um, well, I'm not going to say the dark in this case has a waveform that we can measure because I don't believe that's the case. But definitely the light does. You know, everything in this world is a sine wave when you
mm,
break it down. Even all of our material mass and possessions, our thought forms, everything is a sine wave at the core fundamental. And what's interesting is we see the all-seeing eye very commonly. And there's some Dogon stuff that a scholar, Laird Scranton, writes about. And he talks about the battering of the blinking. The blinking of the eye is what creates the initial light and manifestations of his initial thought form. So this eye manifests this all from blinking, essentially.
mm,
It's
nice.
an interesting theory, though, because everything is in this sine wave. I mean, everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, I like to think of it like I've been like tuning into that kind of concept, and I like to think of it like it's a hot air balloon. There are certain things inside you, like in the soul and the center of the heart, that you can bring in of a frequency emission that's of high energetics. Like you're turning on the gas to like turn up the heat, and then the rise and the levity or the helium or whatever. And then there's also things you got to drop, like weights that are holding people down, and they're there's like the dark elites have this intention of getting away with things by increasing their life extension into immortality and ruling in this realm as if it's hell, and then they're ruling over hell. But you know, and that's they're like the weight that's holding it down in all parasitic forms and attachment and all that.
It's a whole nother knot to untangle. I've been doing a lot of research into Scientology lately just to try to understand the Hollywood elite because they all seem to be a part of it. And boy, interesting stuff. Definitely not a Scientologist by any means, but I look at this work and where it stemmed from and where L. Ron Hubbard had these initial visions of this religion. And I mean, it comes from Aleister Crowley. And they used to go out in the desert with Disney and other people of extreme notary in Hollywood that changed the world with their creations. And they used to do occult rituals out there, blood sacrifice, even I heard. Um, so that's interesting. If that's the case, you know, we see a lot of blood sacrifice in Mexico, and a lot of blood sacrifice in witchcraft. 200 years ago, they burned at the stake witches here in the United States, um, openly in the streets. You know, I mean, that's insanity. Could you imagine that now? I mean, no, I could never. Like, that's just I could not imagine my friends going, "Oh, hey, by the way, buddy, I'm going to be down at the burning tonight. Are you coming?" Like, this is insanity to think that people thought that that was okay at that time, or that it was okay, unless there's something more majorly here that we're maybe being disillusioned upon. And you know, back to the original statement of Scientology, most of my curiosity was just as if they had a demiurge type figure. You know, everything keeps coming back to this demiurge and the gods that it
Like
created.
Yalta.
Yeah, and again, it may have had many names also, because if it was created as God by the Sophia, or to be her partner, and it was a failed experiment, and had, you know, a lot more negative than positive because she didn't have her balance when she created, again with that trinity. I know the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. Nowadays, why is it the Holy Ghost? Did it not used to be the mother? Well, the mother fell to Satan. That's Sophia. That's the pistis Sophia. She lost her faith and fell. So she's now, you know, garnishing the wisdom. She is the wisdom emanation thought. So all of this hardship that we're enduring is how the direct thought of the creator becomes more wise, to my understanding. That's why they say raise your vibrations. I guess that's where I was going with that. Because um that she was supposedly young. She was the youngest thought, that got, so there's 30 thoughts. She was number 30, like very, very young. And so she just didn't have the knowledge. So I guess that's where the stories of intervention came from, and the overcoming of these like Ishtar or Easter, the overcoming of the fallen gods. And she was one of them. But in the Pistis Sophia, it talks that they removed her out of here and hid her away in the 13th eon. And so it's interesting to think that maybe we're trapped within the 12th, and that's where this barrier that they're remote viewing, that when your soul leaves your body, like on DMT, they're able to remote view where you went. And they come to the same place every time, and same solar system, same constellation, 13 million light years away. But what's interesting there is they also can view this machine that's holding it back from going further. And I don't know if you've ever done ayahuasca or DMT, but there is a threshold that you have to break through to get to the cool
Yeah.
part. Otherwise, you're stuck in
Breakthrough.
purgatory, right? It's a near-death experience. Like you don't want to go back there. That's what happened to me the last time I did it, and it was the last time I did it. Like it scared. I mean, it gave me PTSD type symptoms, but it also showed me so much. I believe in terms of this, veil and escaping this or penetrating this threshold that's around us. And so, if all of our souls are connected to her and she's hidden away, that might be why we no longer have new species being produced on this earth, even though our history and all of the ancient cultures depict hybridizations and different sorts of species being created that we don't
Mm.
have any knowledge of today, or very little evidence of, like the Paracas culture, for instance. I mean, the very Nazca mummies, very little, but enough to wonder what the heck.
That's a good point. Yeah, and that's a big rabbit hole into itself. Yeah, and how to get out, break out of that. Yeah, I experienced that with the different veils coming down as you come back down. Ways to break out of that and the different realms for it. Yeah, we can probably talk deep into that. Do you mind having a little play date with our skulls together and show,
Yeah.
show us some of the skulls you got? I'll give you there's a bunch of ways to activate it that you can find out intuitively, and they might tell you. For awakening activation, we produce an awaken energy in our solar plexus if the chakra feels safe enough, if you give it love, intention, heal it, and hold it of all attachment, and it produces more units a second. Then you can build up it in a Dantian, and then you can get to where you can mouse produce it, and then a certain amount of units towards that individual a second. First, you got to heal them, then you got to repair any systems of them, so that it's like bringing them out of coma. And then once they're all nice and healed, then you start beaming them with tons of awakening energy, and then they start to get out of a groggy mode, and then they'll start pinging you when they woke up, or lights will flash, or some weird thing to get your attention. Yeah, do you mind having my two crystal skulls go on a play date with your crystal skulls?
I can lift this thing.
You can just take the camera around. Are you able to do that? Ooh,
I
yeah.
am. Yeah, I will here. I wanted to show this one here first, though, just because it was right here. This is just some piece of fluorite.
Yeah,
These
there's
garments
that
on
beard.
these things, though,
Yeah, that
if you go
beard.
into the Chem beliefs, in Egypt, they all had these beards, and even the pharaoh would strap one of these on his death mask, or on. I don't know if he wore it around publicly for sure, but they were all about trying to honor the creators of Chem. And so to
Mm.
see these beings all sporting this beard, some of them being winged and more, glorified maybe as higher entities, but you see the story of the Apakalu,
You get that
the
on a slide.
Ajiji. Yeah, right there. And that one has the garment on it. Like
You
you
got
can
the
tell it's like
four wings.
wearing a cloth thing over it or something, maybe.
Yeah. What's the highest amount of wings you've seen on a being? Because we got four winged ones.
Most of them are four wings. In fact, the only ones that I see with two are the scarabs and Isis, or Isis type beings. And they usually have two. And that's a really interesting thing.
We got a lot of scarabs too.
Yep. In the
These
book
are
of
great.
Ezekiel, it talks about Ezekiel's vision, and he explains what these Elohim looked like. And these Elohim were these fiery beings with four wings. One of them looked like a man, one of them looked like a bull, one of them looked like a lion, one of them looked like a
Squid like being.
no, there was no squid on there, unfortunately. But these are the
Yeah.
Elohim. Maybe the squids are the B'nai Elohim, right? We have two
Is it,
different Elohim. This
it like goes with the four maintaining parts of the zodiac: the human with Aquarius, the eagle with like Scorpio, or God damn it, I'm trying to remember everything. Yeah, the bull, the human, the eagle, and the lion with Leo.
That's those are the four. Yep, that's you nailed it exactly. And that's what they claim. And you see this a lot in these pieces with these beings. And here I'll switch the camera around so I can show this somewhere here. So yeah, like right here, you can see like Anubis, for instance. Oops, wrong side. Anubis here with the squiggly tail. He almost looks like a genie coming out of an orb or a planet. And so that's an interesting form. We have that form, we have the four-winged form, and we have the humanistic looking form. And oops.
This is what I was thinking too. Is like spirit form, and then touchdown.
Oh, something just fell. All right, I gotta be careful here. Let me take this out of here. You have to be so careful with these things, man. But here's could be, I mean, pretty prime example of what an Elohim was described as by Ezekiel right there, the eagle. We have here, oops, this one looks like a lion, but it's also got a tail like a serpent with four wings. And then there's a pokeball, almost looks like a Buga sphere or something. So interesting piece for sure. That symbol right there is the symbol of Anu, the Most High, in the cuneiform language. So, and there's a being here at the top too by my finger, and this has the fish tail on it. So it's not just the serpent tail that's
Yeah, the
coming out of the
nerve
sphere.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, again with the mouth thing. So, um, you, it's again with the Ezekiel thing. He also explains that these beings came in a whirlwind of light and fire inside of rings within rings. And inside of here is this boat with this guy riding around. Quite interesting. And he sits upon the sacred geometry.
It's gorgeous.
And I had a master of cuneiform writing tell me that all these symbols on here, they are not letters or numbers, but they show energy or movement. And so you see the rotation, the movement out, this is supposed to depict this thing spinning, essentially, I believe, or flying. Um, and that would be why. You see here the reproductive goddess pumping out
I
some
saw
gushers.
that artifact you posted where they're like having an orgy. That's
Oh
crazy.
yeah,
I was
I
like,
got a
what the
strike
fuck?
on my TikTok. They struck me on that one. Took
What?
it down, and I
You
appealed it.
can't. It's against our rules to show alien
It
porn.
it
Get
was pretty
out of here.
explicit, but nonetheless, I appealed it, and they put it back. And then minutes later, they took it back down and struck me.
Oh, that's the species in it. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, very interesting. These green statues seem to be from a whole different period in time. I can show you here on this tablet. This is a piece of obsidian. If I can get the light just right, it's pretty shiny. But this type of sorry, that's a horrible shot. That type of of drawing is obviously much different than the pieces that we see. So, this orange stone here and this type of stone and the metalworking all seems to come from a specific time period. And you can see here we've got these star maps, and they are able to be translated in AI. They date from like 1000 AD all the way back to 2500 BC. So I don't know if that's the age of this civilization specifically, but the fact that there's a lot of bronze and copper pieces in the Tula finds compared to more
You think of that
gold.
chessboard,
Yeah.
because like when I was researching chess, apparently the oldest chessboard found in like Sanskrit. So it's like given
Uh-huh.
by the gods to humans.
It's the
So
age-old game of chess, and you're right about that. It was in the first known boards are like 1400, but they had games in China and India that go back further. And like you say, the one in Sanskrit from India is the oldest, and absolutely, um, it's unbelievable to see chess, and not only chess, but like this game here, it doesn't have the right amount of pieces that we would see on a normal board. But if you look in like the rules of chess, there's actually other versions of chess that have different boards and different amounts of pieces. They're just not commonly made and sold or taught. So these games exist, most of them. But then you have boards like this. Oops. And this is an entire game that I don't even know. It's got like 40 pieces with it, different
it'd
little
be fun to figure
pyramids
out how to
and
play.
um, yeah. So, it's very bizarre. Some of these things, for instance, let me find a good example here. This box back here is a really good one. So this is like a piece of pizza, right? And inside of here, I just take the little
Mm.
box lid off of here so I can show you guys properly. Switch you around. Okay. So this stone is the most common stone found from Tula. It's not found in Abuelos, and it's not found in Guerrero. It's not found in the Miko-chan. It is a Tula exclusive. Now, if you're a lapidary guy, you cut stones, you play with stones. These are called pits. These little holes in the stone. You can see that they're all over the face of this thing, right? It's not uncommon. This isn't anything special. You flip it around. There's pits all over the surface of this thing, on the sides. Okay. Now you break this in half and you break it open. And let me see if I can find an example here for you. Here, I got one. So you can see here, see this guy's nose, how it's broken and it's white underneath.
Yeah.
So if you were to cut this box open, inside of here, it's just going to be this white stone, which is similar to like concrete or something like that. Now, if it was Madagascar jasper and it had all these holes on it, those holes are going to not be on all four sides, or they will be, but when you cut it in half, you'll see those holes going through the stone, like they're a part of the stone inside and out. In this case, it's only on the surface, but it's on all the sides. How's that possible if it was a quarried stone, right? So the logic here is that this is actually a piece of concrete or exotic ceramic, or I mean it's not concrete. When you test it with the XRF and different scanning electron microscopes, you find that this is limestone, clear as day. It's got high amounts of iron oxide inside of it. Some of it's magnetic even. And so that being said, it's likely like they made all those stepped pyramids in Guatemala there, Tikal, stuff like that. They used a thing called quicklime to create the blocks for all those pyramids. So they created those, they casted those blocks. And so if that's quicklime and that's what the Mayans were using, where's the culture with slow lime?
Mm.
That's my theory. And the proof in this also is that if you look at Mesoamerican art, like the red ceramic pieces that you see oftentimes, they're immaculate statues made of this red type of ceramic. Well, if you hit the black light on those, you'll find that they have phosphorescence, just like these pieces.
Mm.
And rocks don't normally have phosphorescence like that. I mean, I'm a rock collector. I have thousands of specimens, and I've collected at many rock shows. Never seen anything glow like these pieces do.
Yeah, a lot of them glow temporarily, if anything, not like retain
That's the
it.
phosphorescence.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the green stuff. That's added on. That not always though. So we also found that some of these pieces they glow green all the way through, even if you break them open. And if you break these open, even the white part inside glows. And so what we're thinking is that if it was like a concrete or a mixture of some form that they had that was wet and that they artificially, well, not artificially, but they created in this fashion, they could have crushed up. And we found rocks in these digs that are like a sandstone that have that glow to it. This is what it looks like here. So they
Mm.
could have crushed this up into that mixture, and then when it hardened, the whole thing would glow like these do. And that's how they've been wet underground, and it doesn't wash off. It's like part of the stone, even though that's not consistent to geological knowledge that we have any other proof of.
Makes sense. Yeah, and then you talked about the iron oxide. I heard that you had a theory that they could be mixing blood with the mixture in like energy. And
Yeah.
I, you know, uh, Isa says there's less sacrifice in certain civilizations than they foretold because they wanted the Mayans and the Aztec to look like complete bad guys. But I would say there's still probably
We got
uses
to
of
go
blood,
back further, though. This is
and
before those times, 5,000 years before those times, possibly. And
yeah,
so, what we find in Abuelos is a dramatic amount more evidence of sacrifice than we
yeah,
find in Tula. However, in Tula, we do find kits with
yeah, different
multiple blades.
civilization.
We depict them hitting lot of
Yeah.
sacrificial stuff, as well as the
We got
perdurnal blade.
sacrifice now, so there's like definitely going to be some groups that run out of any creative thought of how to
I
do great
wasn't invited to
spirituality.
eat the young personally, but this is a perdurnal blade that's found not just in Aztec or Mayan or South America, Mexico, but also in North America and Utah. I mean, there's glyphs in outside of Ogden, Utah, that are the same exact perdurnal blade. So this sacrifice was something that was knowledged of. And
Yeah.
if you look at the story of Babel, the fall of Babel, and the sacrifice that went on, possibly there, because see, they were worshiping their gods with stone idols, right? That's what the one of the reasons that the world was flooded. And so these stone idols, these could be them. And some of the cultures, like the Tula stone itself, that limestone, it's unique to there. And Tula is the city of death. It sits at the base of Zikuku Hill, which Zikuku is a volcano and has the cave of Diablo on it. There's a lot of stories of the underworld and darkness that come from this area. So, like you said, there's parts and certain groups of people that did indeed indulge upon sacrifice to become maybe in beneficiaries to the gods or to appease them. And so, exactly how on earth would the blood of a human being appease a god? That was always something in my head when I heard in school, like, what were they doing with all this blood? Did they just let it seep into the ground? And I mean, in some cases, like Chichen Itza, you absolutely find these areas that are bloody still.
Yeah,
But, oh, go ahead.
yeah. Like when I found out like how blood magic works, if you cut yourself, a bunch of entities are attracted to it, and it's like why? It's like there seems to be a powerhouse in each of the cells that like it's like a big bunch of energy that anything can take from, and then also authority, and then link to abilities and lineages and super tech. So there's a lot that beings can gain. I don't personally recommend engaging it because mostly it's the dark beings that want to use it that are like parasitic, and it any ET that comes to you is saying, "Hey, what do you want for trade?" It was like, "Give me your DNA." Don't do it. I've seen people that did it, and
Yeah.
as soon as they did, they get huge waves of attack. So don't do it.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
I'm super, obviously very, very cautious of all of that type of stuff. I think I talked to you about that the very first time we ever chat, because it's just It's interesting, and those entities or that type of blood magic, like you say, many of the ways that they were able to get the power of magic in witchcraft was through rituals. And so, if they were able to mix the blood in, and the blood was a glue that held this stone together, that's the iron oxide. They were able to make things super strong with it. Even like I have a five-piece table that you can sit at. There's a park bench that you can sit on made of this limestone. Yet there's other pieces that are extremely fragile and brittle, and so the tensile strength of this was something that not only were they able to find different strengths of, but it seems as if they were able to manage and perfect to know just how much blood or just how much ingredients it took to make it a certain strength. And that's really important too, just because they had such a variety of uses for this stone.
Yeah, and when I look into the past, it's specific tribes that are appeasing lower G negative gods that are coming to
Right.
them, and then they're getting told that the trade for power and stuff, and they're mostly sacrificing invading tribes. And then
Makes sense.
I found there's negative blood magic, which is more understood, and then there's positive blood magic, which is less understood, and you got to do a lot of things to make sure it doesn't end your blood doesn't end up in the hands of good. I mean, of the bad side. And
And
there
what
would
kind
be
of blood, right? Is that human blood or is it like the of a goat, like in some of the Muslim, Islam type traditions, like with the red heifers and slaying the red heifer on the temple? Like, is this blood magic in an animalistic form or is it in a human form? And I think that might be a big determining,
true. Yeah,
factor, at
and
least nowadays. Yeah.
there's definitely more value with the human. And
Oh
I'd also
yeah.
find there's ways to enchant weapons, like in ancient blacksmiths that would make different swords. So like in Japan, the way they would enchant them is getting the blade red hot, and they would cut their fingers and let the blood drip on the red hot blade with intention and locking it in to the
There's iron in there. Everything else evaporates, right? It's just the iron left over. So it's like a,
and
yeah, that's
and there's
interesting.
there's crazy intentions that have worked. Like there's blades in museums that never stop being sharp.
Um, huh. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, like imbuing the weapons, and you look at all the magic history, Merlin, how he carried a staff with a crystal on the end of it, and all the mythological everything that we're fed has to do. I mean, World of Warcraft, EverQuest, all these video games, Diablo, the most popular games ever, all have to do with this topic.
True, true. Okay, can you before I forget? Can you get my skull play date with your skulls and show?
Yeah, which one? What are you thinking here?
Yeah, whatever. Show them
Let's
a bunch of this. If you want to show all of them, I'll see if I can help amplify your their awakening. But you don't. Yeah,
this one.
if you want, so it's easier for you.
It's
If
not easier to hold that thing because it's so it's
yeah,
an iPad,
not holding
unfortunately.
it. Like if it's easier for you to take your. Oh wait, is it? It's not easier to hold the camera.
No, not
Oh,
I
sorry.
mean, it seems like it is, but it's not. I just got this thing today, so I'm just probably a novice with it, unfortunately. It's not my
Okay.
phone.
How many crystal skulls would you say you have? By the way.
I have 46.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a play date and a half. Because they're not even all in here. A lot of them are in safes and
Oh. Okay.
different
Yeah.
areas.
Ooh.
This
How
one's a
many?
really unique type of stone.
How many different types of species would you say of the skulls you have?
I mean, the skull shape itself, I mean, they're all unique. Every one of them. There's not one that's a similar
Hmm.
exact shape.
So maybe different
But
human hybrids.
different experiments. So the tribe in the Miko-chan, I put out this documentary, The 10,000 Year Lie, and it's all about Miko-chan and the pieces that they find there, and they're very different. I'll show you one here. I've got it sitting right here. So they're all made of this serpentine jade,
Hmm.
massive uh, beads, and it's got this type of stuff, which is to me, when I first saw it, I thought this is the worst hoax since ever, and that's ridiculous,
What,
right?
the
Alien
alien
on a
Jesus?
cross.
What is
I
that?
mean, yeah, like how do we get here? And
Like it's like Christian time travelers. What happened?
no, there's good logical explanation here. So the carbon dates on these things is 1825 plus or minus 125. So they're obviously a lot newer depictions. And if you look at the Mormon religion, again, something that's been cancel cultured, they believe that Christ had a second coming in America. And so, again, things that you have to go back and reanalyze because of this corruption that we know exists.
Hmm.
Um, could there be something there? I don't know. But to see that on these pieces, it definitely requires a second look, I guess, at the minimum, because it's not just that. It's Baphomet. It's the Virgin of Guadalupe,
Yeah,
and so
yeah. I've
it
heard
very
that.
well.
Did you have like a thing on the Virgin of Guadalupe that like shows that she's older? Is that?
I do. I'm trying to think where that piece is. I think it's in a safe, but yeah, I do. I have one with her on there. I just got it for research purposes. I took samples off and sent it to the lab. Um, this one's really interesting because it's got these. It almost looks like the red glue from a Whalos in the eyes. I don't think it is, but there's probably a good chance that this one will be carbon datable, which is really exciting. Anything with glue, there's a chance.
Yeah, we got one with it in the eyes right here, and like a
Nice.
mysterious bone, which we're like, ooh, I wonder what thing that's a bone on.
It's got a bone on there.
Yeah, like in the okay, so like
Oh yeah.
see if I can get yeah the obsidian center, and then the white around it is bone, and then there's all this kind of glue looking stuff for it.
Yeah, that's a really great one to test. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me. We've definitely found quite a few bones. I just had this one sampled. It's down here. This one here just went to the lab. It's a
Ooh.
really unique piece because it's got the ostrich legs or the
Oh.
weird legs on this being, which I found pretty important.
So you
Um,
think that's an ostrich bone?
no, 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 no. I'm saying the feet here. They
Oh,
look
okay.
like dragon talons or ostrich feet. Again, it's funny that the birds are derived from the dinosaurs because of this type of depiction of dragons and flying birds and dinosaurs. Anyways, this is a dagger here, I believe. It's copper. Um, it's got these inlays on there. Blue calcite skull. But here is a piece of what I thought was a stone that was magnified, but you can actually see there's an air bubble in there. So likely this could have been a piece of glass, and we do have some signs of glass. Um, very very interesting. If that's the case, how there's glass going around at this time. It wasn't just a piece like that with air bubbles. But look at this thing. Speaking of orgy, this is a orgy here on a ball. You really have to look, but you'll catch some pieces of stuff when you look. And but this ball here, let me see if I can get it on there for you. Not a single air bubble in it. It is the most crystal clear, most beautiful piece of glass I've ever seen, probably. And
Wow.
I believe it's obsidian. I have a sample at GIA right now, trying to be certified on that because, again, a piece of obsidian the size that we're finding and the color that we're finding is not something that you can go find out of the mines today that we know of.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Blue is very rare and green is pretty rare. So,
Yeah, I heard green comes from a rare volcano that the Aztecs would take from.
yeah,
I'll try to go to that sometime, and maybe I'll get you some back.
that would yeah, it'd be cool just to have for comparison of, is it the same source as this stuff?
Mm, right. Yeah, what do you think of like the locations expanding of this? Because like from what I'm hearing, that there's more locations like this being found. So it's like, ooh,
A lot.
how many places have this around the planet? It could be like everywhere.
Colombia, Honduras, Ecuador, Romania, obviously Egypt,
Yeah.
um, Sudan, uh, Saudi Arabia,
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, Bolivia, Peru, Colombia. I think I said Colombia. I mean, it's all over the place. I think too, like the Moai and the Easter Island stuff and the Southern Pacific stuff is also likely connected to these as well. Just the type of stonework and the type of faces, the eyes, the way that it's depicted on the Moai, it resembles a lot of what we see in Abuelos.
And now there's the interesting like ground penetrating radars coming out where we'll be able to find more of these things. I think there could be more pyramids all around the planet, and like not many people I know about in the Norse region. If they like, I've seen pure mountains that look very much like just straight edge pyramids under like moss and grass in like Scotland, and I'm thinking there's probably some in Norway, and that could then lead to pyramids that could like in was it Bosnia had in Folvork ruin on it the word Stargate.
Yeah.
So it
And weird gems down inside of it that are unheard of. And yeah, in fact, Klaus Dona and JJ Hertak are doing a trip to Bosnia that I wish I could go to this fall, because what an incredible wisdom experience that would be with those guys. I definitely feel that there are two guys to watch on this archaeological
Ecological.
yeah adventure that we're on. Just it seems as if they are out to get the truth for sure.
Mm.
Klaus has
Yeah,
been working on these pieces since 2000 with Nassim Harriman back in like
mm,
2008. I think they came out with the stuff from Abuelos.
yeah. And you got depictions of stargates, and we got a portal. Like, we're thinking that there's these big, and the telescope. We're thinking that
Yeah.
there's these big magical places that could be like gateways between realms, like in the Norse mythology. And then there could be ET or Fae or different like dwarf or something depictions on like places in the northern region. So I think
Yeah.
there's different species touching down in different areas and some crossing between them. So
Yeah.
there's a lot for people to go and dig for once we get these parasites off our back, trying to prevent people from bringing this out.
The truth shall set us free, they always said to me when I was a kid.
Mm.
And I can only help but think of that often when I see these pieces, because if there really is some truth that's been hidden from us, this one sure as heck could be it.
Mm. True.
And
Yeah.
if the demiurge thing and if the demiurge is Saturn, and that's what's keeping us here, and why all these things, why Rome was in worship of Saturn, why all these pieces have Saturn on them, um, that would make a lot of sense. That was the god they were worshiping at that time. And Kronos in the Greek, he
Mm.
is Saturn.
Yeah, Mad Time. Yeah, that's interesting.
And he was eating his children, if you remember. And so here's a funny one. So if he is our universe, for instance, if the demiurge was eating and trapping his children inside of him, and that's why they use that metaphor of him eating his children, then maybe that was the Zepteki era or the golden era. And when Hera made him throw him up, or someone poisoned him or something, I can't remember the full story, but when he threw up his children, that could have been the end of the Zepteki era, you know?
That'd be a good point. Yeah.
I
Uh,
don't know, but it's odd to try to connect it like that, of, what, like you said earlier, some of these gods seem to be entire constellations or civilized, more than just a being,
mm. Yeah, and then the mythos goes up and down. Interestingly, macro, micro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on. Beautiful show. Bringing that is like Alien Artifact Roadshow, and it
It's a good
feels great.
idea.
A lot of
Yeah.
upgrades for people. Can you so like we'll be both presenting at the Full Disclosure conference in Florida. You'll be presenting on alien artifacts, I'm sure.
Oh
Is
yeah.
that right?
Crystal skulls and the artifacts. Yeah, I'm going to bring a bunch of pieces down, and I'm going to Contact in the Desert this weekend with a bunch of pieces. We're kind of doing a little pop-up roadshow and going to present these to some researchers and people that are all collected down there for the event. And yeah,
Beautiful.
it's coming. I truly believe that there will be peer-reviewed research on this topic within the next 6 to 8 months, probably. I've seen things and know that it's coming. I believe it. I've seen the science, and now it's just a matter of delivering it and presenting it in a way that is not going to be looked at negatively in terms of, with the Nazca mummies, for example. They got DNA, they got carbon dates, they have all this science, but all of it is struck down with false positives and non-conformality. And I think in order to get this topic brought into the light, we're going to have to conquer that with something of science that is not known to produce false positives. That's only something that's tangible evidence. And I think we're really close.
That's a good point. Yeah, and so people can get their tickets at fulldisclosuremovement.org. And you can guys go into our comments, I mean, the description, as well as some of our other lives, and there'll be a discount code for people to get. So come see us at this event. Can you name some of your other things you're doing, events, books? Can you name drop your book and how people
Yeah.
can?
I don't have Forbidden Relics down here, but I've got 6 books. These two, Forbidden Relics Volume 1 and Anunnaki, the Mesoamerica connection, goes deep into a lot of these pieces that I've shown here, as well as this is what the pieces look like with the black light. We can't really show it because it's daytime right now, but it goes into deep excavation as well, and shows just how these things are being found, where at, what type of petroglyphs. I mean, how this is connected. We've got pieces from Peru, from Honduras. This is from Peru here. A good friend of mine has down there. So you can get all these books on Amazon if you just search Michael Forrest, and or if you go to our site aliencarvings.com. We've got a compendium of data on this, a lot of different excavation carbon dates, as much science that I've been able to collect personally is on there. And same with our YouTube. We've got a bunch of documentaries that go deep into all the stuff we've talked about today, and trying to understand it more.
Beautiful. Do you have any other books you're coming out with or events you're planning on going to?
Yeah, I do have another book. I don't have any other events scheduled right now. Um, but we have a big thing going down in LA that we might be doing like our own type of an event. We have a place there that might host us and allow us to, put on a really high-end gallery for people in Bel Air. And so that's something that's really on my radar. I want to do a museum. I mean, that's my main goal, is to get these pieces safe out of my hair, because right now it's a weight on my shoulders that I don't want. I do. I love the truth, and but I'm not trying to have 2,000 pieces in my basement. I'd really like to see those in the museum so people can research them and have like-minded prosperity from them. So
Just make sure, just make sure they don't steal them and put them in a basement.
I didn't say the Smithsonian.
Yeah, those
I'm going
bastards.
to make my own museum, and the Smithson family was formed because they collected a lot of pieces from Egypt and a lot of Native American pieces when it was allowed or legal to do so. These pieces that you see that are coming out of Mexico, normally this would be a felony, and I would be in jail right now if I took this out of the ground and had it shipped to myself here in America. That would be very illegal. However, I've wrote out to the INAH, which is the Institute of National Archaeology and Anthropology, and we got a letter back on their letterhead, signed by their chief of whoever, Ministry of Archaeology, I believe was what their title was. And they claimed that anything with a UFO or with aliens on it is immediately dismissed as modern. They don't need to do any testing. It's legal to buy and sell because they've never seen anything like this come out of the ground in any of the areas that are known as the UNESCO heritage sites. And so um, that's where it stands. And that's what we're trying to change. We're just trying to get research to open up on this to where people know about it. They stop selling them to the black market like it's nothing. I mean, it's so sad. You go down to these Puerto Vallarta port towns where there's cruise ships or whatever coming in, and I mean, there's vendors on the streets with this, and people just think it's just a toy, you know, and it's our
Right.
history. It kills me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And how can people reach you and get a hold of you? And if they're interested in bringing you on for like conferences or shows, what
Yep.
should they?
Our website has a submission form. That's one way. Instagram DM always works good. But the website's the easiest way. It goes right to my email and to my phone.
Cool. Lovely. And yeah, I'm Sean Bond, founder of Sonic League. You can reach me at sonicleague.com or subscribe to my YouTube Sonic League. Sonic League at gmail if you're in .com if you're interested in our sacred trips to different places of power and pyramids and places with ETs and ET hotspots and artifacts. And yeah, there'll be big thing we're doing in October for a trip, which almost out of seats. So if you still got a chance, possibly if you want to sign up for that, there'll be hot
I wish
springs
I
and
could.
locations. Yeah, we'll definitely have to bring you here sometime, and we'll do some things.
I'm a virgin in Mexico, so it's I just want to make that a point too, is that that's how we met each other, was you guys were down there and non-biased through a friend of yours. You went on a whim to go and see something, and you saw something and you documented it, and I saw it posted on social media, and it brought tears to my eyes because I knew, wow, someone else out there had the same type of experience that I have, and it's so far and few between because there's not any main spotlight or you
Mhm.
know commotion on this topic at this point. And so good job. Keep doing it, keep
Yeah,
documenting it, get in there, get to know those people, and really treat them as family because they are absolutely some of the nicest people I've ever met.
yeah, I love them. Yeah, we'll get you down here. It'll fun. Uh, yeah, and you can reach me for consultations, healing, clearing, depossession, unlock dormant abilities, abundance, a bunch of other things. Yeah, so thank you all for coming to this show, and please spread this around, get this out there, help disclosure get to more people, blow people's minds away, wake up some of your friends, give it to 5 friends that you're like, hey, what do you think of this? Is this real? What do you think? And then get them in the alien artifact trap of disclosing
Turn
their
them into
mind
me.
and blowing them. Yeah, it'll blow their
Skeptic
ego
turned
apart. It'll get them out of the matrix. Get your friends out of the matrix. Do it with this video.
blue pill.
And yeah, subscribe to his alien carvings. He's coming out with a bunch of good videos that are going viral. So, oh, did you have a thing you can share for that video that went viral, real quick, as we end the show?
Yeah, there's a documentary coming. So that dig, it's been seen by over 70 million people across all the social media platforms, as well as the posers who have taken the video. We had over 30 million just on one post of it, and it's a finding that's down about the 10-foot level. It's a large sarcophagus that weighs tons, of an alien being. Inside of it was a stone body. There was a gentleman who made a false video claiming that there was a real organic body inside. That is not true. It was not found in Guatemala. It is from Tula Hidalgo. The excavation is still underway. The people, they got the everything out of there, and then they started to find more and more stuff underneath this stone monument that was created. So just like we have headstones that are made of stone and we have decorations that go on top of our bodies in a cemetery, we believe that this is a similar type of fashion with this being. And so in the next few weeks here, once we get the opportunity to excavate underneath of there will be a documentary to conclude this entire thing from start to finish. The footage is there. We have 9 hours of footage that we're editing. And yeah, on our Instagram or TikTok, you can see it there. They're all sticky at the top. Just look for a lot of millions.
Nice, nice, wonderful. Yeah, you don't have the video. I'll probably like post it at some point. I'm trying to log in, but
Yeah, I don't have a way to throw anything up on the screen, so
it's on.
I'm
Do you see
slacking.
the present button at the bottom with the plus in the TV? It should allow you to do a share screen with that, but if you don't, that's fine.
We'll go into, yeah,
We'll do it. We'll set it up.
StreamYard school next time. Yeah, I'm slacking.
That's fine. Yeah, and then people can look it up at Alien Carvings at the Instagram or the TikTok, or you've posted a few on your Facebook as well.
Yep.
You got a YouTube?
Yep. Alien Carvings on all socials and YouTube. YouTube's where we put a lot of the longer documentaries that can't fit on the other streaming services. So if you want the full thing, I highly recommend going there. It's got the most cumbersome content.
Wonderful. Yeah, everyone spread this out. Help disclosure. We can do it together. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for coming. Thank you, Mike, for
Thanks, Sean.
presenting your wonderful artifacts and your awesome personality. And yeah, we're gonna
You too.
do this. We got it. Okay.
We'll catch you
See guys
soon.
later. See ya.